is the passive voice in English? Why do we need the passive voice? And how can I compare it to the active voice in English? In today's lesson, I'm going to teach you all about the passive voice step by step. There is going to be a lot of information in today's lesson, so to help you practice, I have a test for you with 10 questions. Please let me know your score in the comments below. Did you get 10 correct out of 10? Or maybe just 6 correct out of 10? Let me know. My name's Arnell. Let's start. The passive voice is the opposite of the active voice. Let's first look at 3 active sentences. A rich person bought the painting for $1 million. Someone stole my phone. My mom accidentally washed a red sock with the white laundry. We know the subjects are a rich person, someone, and my mom. They do the action. I'm going to call these people the doer because they do the action. But sometimes the doer is obvious. We know a rich person bought this painting. Of course, who else can spend $1 million on art? So we don't need the subject. It's obvious. Sometimes the subject is unknown. Unknown means we do not know who did the action. Who stole my phone? I don't know. We don't need the subject. It's unknown. Sometimes the subject is just not important. Do I mean my mom is not important? No, I mean the result is the same. My mom, my dad, I, the family dog. The subject is not important because the result is the same. We don't need this subject. If your subject is obvious, unknown, and not important, and we want to focus on the action or the result, we use the passive voice. The painting was bought for $1 million. My phone was stolen. A red sock was washed with the white laundry. This is the basic idea of the passive voice. You can see that the objects have now become the subjects. They are now the main focus. The painting, my phone, a red sock. Don't worry, I'm going to give you lots of examples. Let's keep going. Grammatical structure. To form the passive voice, we need be plus past participle. Remember your be forms? And what's the past participle? Verb number 3. Walk, walked, walked. Go, went, gone. Do, did, done. The past participle is always verb number 3. Here are 5 sentences in the passive voice. We need to look at the structure. If you can recognize the structure, you are 50% there. A new bridge was built for pedestrians. Pedestrians are people who walk in a city. So not drivers, not cyclists, they are pedestrians. We see was plus past participle. My grandfather is given his medicine 3 times a day. Be plus past participle. You don't need to feed the dogs. They have already been fed. I can't believe I was cropped out of the picture. And to crop something out means you remove it from a picture. You know, if you have pictures, you can crop someone out. This woman was cropped out of the picture. If anyone finds out, my secret will be exposed. Find out is a great phrasal verb. It means to find information. Like, I don't know when the bank closes, but I'll find out. Okay, so in all 5 sentences, the person who does the action, the doer, is again obvious, unknown, or not important. If you want to say who does the action, we can add by plus person. A new bridge was built for pedestrians by, here it's obvious, by construction workers, by architects, by the city council. We don't need to say who. The most important thing is now pedestrians have their own bridge. In English grammar, the person who does the action is called the agent. This is a grammatical term which you don't really need to know. Just remember by plus person. My grandfather is given his medicine 3 times a day by a nurse. They have been fed by me, by their owner, by Sam. See, the agent here isn't necessary. I can't believe I was cropped out of the picture by my parents, by you, by my best friend. In this last example, we can clearly see that the agent really isn't important. The most important thing, the focus, is that my secret will be exposed. Tip: the agent is only necessary if you think it's necessary to include. Mini review. The passive voice is used when the doer of the action is not important because the doer is obvious, unknown, or not important. The passive voice focuses more on the action or result, not the doer. We form the passive voice using be plus past participle. If you want an agent, you can add by plus person. Tenses. Yep, each tense has a different form for the passive voice. In English we have 12 tenses. If you want to learn how to use the tenses, I have a full lesson on this topic on my channel, which I'll link down below for you. So, for each tense, things change a little bit in the passive voice. Here we have the 12 tenses and what their passive forms look like. You can always pause this video if you need more time to look at this. What about these tenses here? Well, with these tenses, the passive form isn't used. It would sound very unnatural to say something like had been being eaten, had been being discussed. No. I know this looks like so much information, and you are probably like this. But all of these structures have something in common. Be plus past participle. Am I going to give you an example for each tense? Yep. Get ready. Present simple. Active voice. I make 2 YouTube videos every month. Passive voice. 2 YouTube videos are made every month. By me? Do you think that's necessary? No, I think that's pretty obvious. This is a present simple. So sometimes students see made. Made is simple past. No, the tense here is in the be form. So it doesn't matter what tense you need, the passive voice always has that past participle. Trust me, by the end of this lesson, you are going to be sick of me saying the past participle. Present continuous. Active. The baggage handlers are putting the bags on the plane. Passive. The bags are being put on the plane. Present perfect. Josephine and Carl have moved the chairs in the classroom for the activity. The chairs have been moved, so there's more space in the classroom for the activity. Present perfect continuous. We've been watching Squid Game on Netflix. passive. Remember, the passive doesn't work with this tense. Squid Game has been being watched on Netflix? No. Is it impossible to see this tense in the passive voice? No, you might see it, but it's not common, and it sounds unnatural. Past simple. Carrie told everyone about the meeting. Everyone was told about the meeting. Past continuous. The current. The current was pulling me away from the shore. I was being pulled away from the shore. Past perfect. I had set up everything for the party. Set up is a great phrasal verb, and the verb forms are set up, set up, set up. This is an irregular verb. Definition: to organize everything for a party, meeting, or event. What do you need when you set up a party? Decorations, food, plates, drinks, music, etc. Passive voice: everything had been set up for the party. Past perfect, continuous. My team and I had been discussing the project for quite some time. Passive? Nope, not natural with this tense. Future simple. Save your work because this software will erase everything at 12 o'clock. Save your work because everything will be erased at 12. Future continuous. The window cleaners will be cleaning the windows between 10 and 12. Passive, again, not with this tense. Future perfect. Hopefully, my team and I will have reviewed all of these applications by Friday. Hopefully, all of these applications will have been reviewed by Friday. Future perfect continuous. Henrietta will have been working on her sculpture for 6 months. Passive, nope, doesn't work. Okay, phew. We've looked at all 12 tenses in their active and passive forms. But there's something important you need to know. Here are 3 more active sentences. The plant died without sunlight. My dog goes wherever I go. Clara is sunbathing. Sunbathing is when you lie in the sun. You know, cats. Cats like sunbathing. How do I change these sentences to the passive voice? The answer is I can't. Why? Well, these verbs are what we call intransitive verbs. These verbs do not need an object. Intransitive verbs do not need an object. Let me compare this to transitive verbs. Transitive verbs need an object. A customer bought. A customer bought what? Buy is transitive. It needs an object. A customer bought 3 t-shirts. Oh, now it's clear. Thousands of people use. Use what? Thousands of people use the subway every day. Use is transitive. It needs an object. So here's the rule. Only transitive verbs can be used in the passive voice. 3 t-shirts were bought. The subway is used by thousands of people every day. This works. So if you're trying to convert a sentence from the active voice to the passive voice and it's not working, maybe the verb is intransitive. It won't work. How are you feeling? So far, we've looked at the most important parts of the passive voice. Now, the lesson starts to get more advanced. Are you ready? Let's keep going with passive with modal verbs. Here are the modal verbs we have in English. I think you can recognize a lot of these. Modal verb plus be plus, you guessed it, the past participle. Active. You can't wash that wool sweater in the washing machine. It'll shrink. Passive. That wool sweater can't be washed in the washing machine. And wool is sheep hair. The sweater should be washed by hand in cold water. It definitely must not be dried in the dryer. Let me look at the label. It might be made out of something else. Look, it's not wool, it's actually acrylic. So you can see the passive voice can be used with modal verbs easily. Now let's compare passive infinitive and passive gerund. What are these? Let's take a look. In English, the infinitive is to plus verb. To go, to play, to eat, etc. You can see gerunds are verbs in their ing form. Going, playing, eating, etc. Gerunds look like a verb, but they function as nouns. How do you think we form the passive with infinitives or gerunds? To be plus past participle, being plus past participle. You know, if your brain is like this right now, I understand, but please don't worry. The most important thing in today's lesson is that you can recognize the passive voice. You don't need to be able to use it right now. Examples are always helpful, so let's start with the infinitive. Active. You need to clean the table before you roll out the pizza dough. Passive. The table needs to be cleaned before you roll out the pizza dough. And look, you can use the passive voice and active voice in one sentence. No problem. Active. Teacher, can you please move me to the intermediate class? The pre-intermediate class is too easy. Passive. One of the students in my pre-intermediate class asked to be moved to an intermediate class. And sometimes there isn't always a direct active to passive translation. Sometimes you just want to use a passive voice. The guests expect to be served their food on time. Are you ready for gerunds? Jenny from work keeps pushing me around. And to push someone around means to control someone. You keep telling them what to do. It's like you push them there, and you push them there. Passive. I'm tired of being pushed around at work. I chose Fred, Abby, and Louie to work on the project with me. Again, there isn't always a direct active to passive translation. I could make a passive sentence like this. Fred, Abby, and Louie were happy about being chosen to work on the project with me. Last example, are you looking forward to being promoted at work? I just have 2 more points to cover and then it's test time. Stay with me, we are almost done. Point number 1. My phone screen is cracked. We can see be plus past participle. Cracked. No. In this case, cracked is an adjective. It's describing how the phone looks. I hope you're not bored. Bored is an adjective. You know, there are a lot of ed adjectives in English, so be careful when you're looking at a sentence. Is it the passive voice or is it an adjective? Point number 2. You already know by now that the passive voice is used when the doer is obvious, unknown, and not important. Many times we also use the passive voice to be polite. Why? Well, We want to create space. We want to create space between the doer and their action. Let's compare. Business email. Active. You have to pay the invoice by the 15th. This is kind of accusatory. You have to pay. It can be nicer to use the passive voice. The invoice has to be paid by the 15th. When will you finish the report? When will the report be finished? You can see we shift the focus away from the doer to be gentler. Test time. Finally! Here are 10 sentences. I want you to decide if each sentence is active or passive. That's it. Is the sentence active or passive? Pause the video to do this. Before we look at the answers, I want to tell you that if you want all the notes for today's lesson, you can join my channel and become a member. As a member, you can download all of the notes of this lesson to review later. I'll leave the link to join my channel down below. And finally, here are the answers. How did you do on the test? Please let me know in the comments. I really do love hearing from you. I really appreciate you watching my lesson today. I hope you learned something new. And why not give me a few example sentences in the comments below to practice. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye!